When I first started gardening, all I wanted to do was grow exactly what I ate. My favourite foods were things like continental cucumbers, russet potatoes, and baby spinach leaves. But the more I got into gardening, the more I learned that there's a whole world of different varieties of my favourite vegetables, and some are better than others for growing in my climate. And different varieties can even be more nutritious for you and can be grown longer and stored longer. So over time, I've been changing what I grow to be more climate appropriate and branching outside my comfort zone to explore new foods that might be better for me and easier to grow. So today, I wanted to take you on a tour of what I'm currently growing and experimenting with so I can gradually work towards a more self-sufficient garden. It's currently autumn where I live in subtropical Australia, so it's coming into the cooler months for planting. I think all gardeners have different successes with different plants, and there's so many factors that can make or break a successful harvest. And for whatever reason, I have had zero luck growing zucchini this year. I think I've harvested like one successful fruit all season. Meanwhile though, my tromboncino is still going strong. I rave about this plant all the time, but it's a type of zucchini that grows over 1 meter long, and when it's larger, it hardens and becomes more like a squash. And I'm also finding that it stores really well. So this is a plant I'll definitely be growing more of next season, but at this rate, it may even grow all through the year. Something else I'm growing for the first time is loofah. And now I may regret growing this one because I know it's very prolific, but if it's edible, I don't see how that can be a bad thing. Loofah can be eaten when small and it's used in a lot of Asian dishes. I'm yet to try it, but I'm excited to give it a go. But once they're large, you can dry them out and they could be used in the shower or washing up. These are now my go-to sponge in the kitchen. I'm obsessed with them and I think they're great. And if I end up with way too many, I can always give some away or sell them. I recently saw one for sale in Japan for around $30, which is insane. So who knows, maybe I'll become the local loofah lady in town. On my trellis, I'm currently growing a variety of tomatoes called Rapunzel. It's meant to grow really high and have really long trellises of tomatoes. And I've talked about it before, but in these beds, I used a mushroom compost and something is out of whack with it because all my tomatoes and sunflowers have gone curly. I've tested the soil and the pH seems okay, but there's something going on and I'm trying to fix it. I've used mushroom compost in the past with really great results, but maybe something is off with this batch, which is a bit of a bummer, but I shall prevail and work towards resolving the issue. I also recently added a bunch of seedlings in this bed, and I always make this mistake, but I forgot to label them, of course. So now I'm not really sure what they are, but once they grow a bit more, I'll work it out. But I'm pretty sure it's mostly broccoli and cabbage. I think I'm also growing a Chinese celery for the first time, which I thought looked interesting. I also have a bunch of flowers in this bed that are mostly self-seeded. Last season I did a dedicated annual flower bed which looked stunning. So most of the flowers currently in the garden are self-seeded from that. And to be honest, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted a constantly flowering garden with minimal effort, and so far that's exactly what I've got. It's not all perfect though. In my yellow garden bed, I had a bunch of seedlings like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, carrot, tomatoes, and cabbage, and the flowers have completely taken over. I was about to cut them back, but then I realized that the cabbage that was covered with the most flowers was completely pristine. Not a single bug has munched on any of the leaves, whereas my other brassicas were completely destroyed from caterpillars. So I was thinking there may be some polyculture going on, which is where there's a variety of plants and insects get confused and can't really see the things they want to eat. Or maybe the flowers have introduced some more beneficial insects. I'm not sure, but I'll keep an eye on it and I'll cut them back if I need to. But it always breaks my heart having to cut back flowers. I hate to do it, and let me know if you're the same. But in this situation, I might have to. My poor tomatoes though will need some of the flowers cut back because they're definitely not getting enough light. I was running an experiment of direct sowing seeds versus raising the seeds, and so far the results are non-conclusive, but I'm gonna have to thin them out a bit and maybe try and get them some more light. I did get gifted this beautiful beautiful heirloom tomato plant from a local property, and it is going so strong and already producing fruit. And this plant has been grown on the same property for several decades, so it's making it a super heirloom in my eyes. And I think that really shows with how strong this plant is growing. So if you want to grow the best plants for your region, hunting down some heirloom varieties that are heirloom to your country or area I think is really important, because there's so many imported heirloom seeds. Like I could buy seeds that are heirloom to England, but we have a totally different climate, so they may not do as well in Australian soil. So I'm really trying to hunt down heirloom varieties that are local to Australia or my area. Or alternatively, you can just get seeds from locals, because they're going to be well adapted to your area as well, and hopefully have a greater success rate. My perennial flower bed is looking stunning at the moment. The chrysanthemums have started flowering and the salvias are still going strong. I've been grabbing the seeds from some of the annual flowers like the cosmos and zinnias and starting to scatter them in this area just to add more color and height, and so far it's working. I've also been taking cuttings of some of my favorite plants in this area and propagating them. My partner made me a little hothouse for seed raising. Now it's not going to win any beauty contests, but that's okay, it doesn't have to. It just has to be practical. But I've been growing a few different types of plants from the cuttings to replant in that area or to give away to friends and family. And seriously, learning how to propagate is such an amazing skill. Like I can create an endless supply of free plants this way and work towards really filling in my perennial garden and have it looking abundantly colorful all year round. And also when you see a plant you like, you can ask for a cutting and propagate it yourself. But it's moving into gerberas season, and I love my gerberas. They are flowering constantly, so I picked up a new variety to pop into the ground. Pink garden bed, the soil is lacking a bit lately and needs some work, but it's still being productive. I have some random self-seeded radishes that have popped up, and I'm hoping to turn these into a kimchi maybe. Also got some dwarf climbing bees on this trellis from seeds that I saved from last season, and these were so prolific last season, so I'm excited to see how they go. I do have a few beetroot seedlings, but they are not doing well. I also tried direct sowing some and they didn't take either. The soil just isn't retaining moisture well in this area, so I will be hunting down some compost to add, but for now this space is saved for hopefully some beetroot. And then I have some new cauliflower seedlings that I raised myself. I'm very excited for these because they are a multicolored variety, so some will be purple or yellow or pink, so I really hope they take because it will hopefully look awesome. I'm also planting some land cress. This plant apparently deters cabbage moths and things that like to attack brassicas, so it's considered a good companion plant. I also found a random capsicum that self-seeded itself, so I made sure to stake that one up as it's got fruit on it. I've also got a few garlic bulbs in this bed and various things from last season that hung around like kale and some bush beans. In my blue garden bed, I'm attempting corn again, mostly for my own sake. This is a painted mountain variety, so it looks pretty, but it's not really edible. But I am trying to improve my corn growing skills, so I'm growing this mostly for the challenge and before the last of the heat disappears for the season. Sadly though, they have been attacked by some sort of caterpillar. I found them a few times and it's a very black caterpillar that eats the tassels. So I've been trying to squish them out, but with the tassels gone it may affect pollination, but I'll just have to see. So maybe I'll try and do some manual pollination this time by brushing the tassels and placing it on the ears of the corn, and maybe it might help. I've heard heavy mulching helps corn, so that's what I was doing to give them the best chance possible. And something interesting I've learned about corn is that the original corn from way back in the day used to emit a scent when it was attacked by caterpillars to hopefully attract insects that would eat that caterpillar. But sadly over time that gene has been hybridized out of modern corn, so modern corn doesn't have that trait to protect itself. So I thought it was really interesting. I've been reading this book called Eating to Extinction, and it's all about how we've hybridized food and are losing the good genetics of the original plants. And anyway, it's really interesting, and I thought that was really interesting. interesting about the corn as well. But anyways, in this bed I'm also growing some capsicum, or peppers for you Americans, and these plants are still going strong from last season. I've been experimenting with different varieties, and this long variety of capsicum has been very prolific. I'm also growing a perennial capsicum for the first time, which means that this plant lasts forever and doesn't need to be regrown every season. It's finally got fruit on it, so I'm curious to see what it tastes like, but I have been having some troubles with my capsicum lately. They seem to be getting this weird discoloration on them. I thought it was pests, but it turns out it may actually be a calcium deficiency, so I've heard adding eggshells at the base can help resolve this, but let me know if you have any tips, because I'm sad I keep losing my capsicums to it. I think one thing a lot of gardeners aiming to be self-sufficient forget about is to think about protein. Obviously, animal-based products are a go-to, but I don't think I can grow them from seeds. But of course, legumes are a really great option, and that's what I'm currently focusing on. I've heard really great things about Madagascar beans from other local growers, and this is like a butter bean or a lima bean, and this thing goes crazy. I've already been growing it on a small trellis, and it is taking over. It's probably suffocating out my trees, so I'm going to have to cut it back. I did really want to dedicate a good growing space for this, because you have to let it grow and then let the seeds dry out for storage. So I've attached some mesh to one of my large garden beds to dedicate the space to growing beans for drying. I love butter beans and I eat them once or twice a week, so I'm hoping this can be a great alternative and a great plant to grow and dry out and add into my diet. I've also heard it makes great veggie patties and even brownies, so I'm really excited to give it a go and experiment with it for cooking. Now, another staple which is great for storing is pumpkin, of course. I tried growing pumpkins all summer and they were not having it at all. But all of a sudden, they've completely taken over with the cooler weather. They're even growing out the compost bin. And I have so many pumpkins. And to be honest, they're not my favorite vegetable, but I am always keen on veggies that grow well. I think I'm just gonna have to find some recipes that aren't soup. That's the only thing I know how to cook with pumpkins, so let me know if you got any recipe tips. Now, I know a lot of this video is about growing things well suited to your climate, but sometimes I like a challenge. And when I discovered you can buy and grow cacao trees, I was instantly hooked and had to have one. Cacao is used to make chocolate, and apparently it's somewhat easy to do from home. And cacao is a tropical plant, but if you can create a microclimate with similar trees like bananas and coffees, you may find success with it. So that's what I'm attempting to do. I'm going to keep it in a pot because it likes a bit of shade and no wind, so I can move it around if need be. And one day I might move house, and I definitely want this plant to come with me because it's probably not going to get fruit for about 3 years, and I'm not going to let some random take advantage of that. I've also been exploring other tropical and subtropical plants that are popular in Asian cooking, like this taro plant. Again, these are very hardy and can be used to make chips, or they can be steamed or baked or mashed or used in cakes. So I'm excited to give this one a go and see how well it grows and if I enjoy cooking with it. I also came across a yam bean, again, which is another popular Asian tropical root vegetable. I've heard this can be a great replacement for potatoes, so I'm excited to give this a go, and I'm popping it into a grow bag to see how it goes. And another popular Asian plant I'm growing is this beetle leaf. This is popular in Vietnamese cooking as like a wrap, so I've heard good things about it and going to give it a go. It also just makes a really nice ground cover, so hopefully that will help suppress the weeds in my back area. But that pretty much sums up everything I'm growing this season and how I'm changing my approach to what type of varieties I'm growing. This is all just experimentation and just working out what I like growing and what I like eating, because I think it's a very exciting journey to discover what different foods are out there and what's possible to grow, because I think we're just so stuck in what you can buy at the grocery store that we forget to branch out and see what else is available. But I love the adventure and I love the journey, so I hope you guys are happy to come along with me and hopefully learn a few things along the way with me. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.